The Hag is one of Dead by Daylight's oldest killers, and despite getting numerous improvements over the years, currently sits at one of the game's least played killers. Why is this? Is she the worst killer in the game? The Hag is a territorial killer, who sets up traps that she can teleport to when a survivor walks or runs near them. The trade-off of this is her slow speed, as she moves at 110% of a survivor's run speed, as opposed to the more typical 115. 5% does not seem like much, but it's an incredibly significant disadvantage. Good survivors can loop the average 115 killer that doesn't use their power for a majority of the game, so killers that are limited to 110 must rely on their power to get downs. While the Hag can put down traps during a chase, she's much more effectively played as a setup killer, designating a fourth to a third of the map as her web, punishing survivors who cross into it, and further forcing survivors to interact with the Hag by bringing down survivors onto hooks deep inside the web. Survivors can crouch walk over Hag traps to ignore them, or wipe them away to destroy them permanently. So why is the Hag so underplayed? It's a mixture of a few things. The first is that the Hag requires the killer to not only be good at the killer basics, but also requires both a strong understanding of basically all the maps in the game, along with being able to keep mental track of where the survivors are and where your active traps are. And unlike similar setup killers, such as the Trapper or the Singularity, the Hag is stuck moving at 110% speed, so you, the player, cannot just rely on turning your brain off and chasing down a survivor. Another big downside of the Hag is how heavily countered she is by survivors who are coordinated and know what they're doing. A single survivor who follows the Hag around sneakily and just disarms her traps renders her almost useless as a killer. Survivors can also simply run through the traps to trigger them while the Hag is carrying a survivor, since she'll be unable to teleport, and triggered traps are removed shortly after being triggered. Another big issue with the Hag is the change to the 3-gen system that was put into place earlier this year. After a generator has been damaged 8 total times, the killer can no longer further damage that generator. While this was a good change in general, stopping the average killer from doing the inefficient 3-gen strategy where they pick the 3 closest generators and just defend them all game, the Hag is a slow killer with a limited teleport range. In short, she was designed to pick 3 or 4 generators and build her web around them. The removal of this strategy effectively cripples her basic playstyle. In addition to that, another somewhat recent change lets survivors unhook themselves if the killer remains too close to the survivor after hooking them. And as a slow killer, bringing the survivor to the back of her web, she's not able to just move to the opposite corner of the map to harass other generators. In short, the Hag has just become antiquated. But antiquated doesn't mean bad. It just means we have to play to her strengths. And as a former Hag main, you can trust me when I say her greatest strength is what we'll be playing around today, a strategy that the Hag could thoroughly abuse to this day: the basement. Every map will have a basement, an underground area with a single entrance and 4 unbreakable hooks. The basement will always spawn under either the main building or the shack, another structure that frequently appears on most maps. And because the basement has only a single entrance, the Hag can hook a survivor in it and force survivors to move through her traps. At a minimum, rescue speed will be slowed to a crawl, allowing the Hag to interrupt survivors, giving it an attempt, and hopefully cause survivors to make mistakes or outright panic, giving her great mobility through teleports. We'll be doing our best to force a basement strategy for both of today's 2 games, with a build that's perfectly suited for it. The cornerstone of our build is the excellent killer perk, Agitation. While carrying a survivor, your tear radius is increased, and more importantly, your movement speed is also increased, allowing you to cover much more distance than normal. We will be using this perk to carry survivors from wherever we down them towards the basement, taking baby steps to eventually stick them where we want them. Agitation is a nice utility perk in general, since the faster movement speed means less time spent carrying a survivor and more time with full control of your killer, something the Hag needs to teleport. Scourge Hook Pain Residence damages the generator with the most progress the first time each survivor is hooked on one of the white Scourge hooks. One of the best regression perks for a slow killer, this perk combos well with Agitation, giving you the near guaranteed ability of being able to reach a white hook on most maps. The downside of this perk in this build is that the basement hooks are not Scourge hooks. Normally. Scourge Hook Monstrous Shrine changes that, turning the basement hooks into additional Scourge hooks. letting us get value from our Scourge Hook perks even from abusing the basement. It also increases the speed that survivors die on the hook as long as we're far enough away from it, forcing survivors to go for unhooks faster, something that they'll struggle to do against the Hag. Our backup plan is our fourth perk, Starstruck. Starstruck, one of my all-time favorite perks, exposes all survivors in your tear radius while carrying a survivor, and for 30 seconds after either hooking them or dropping them. Because exposed survivors can be downed in one hit, any survivor close enough to be afflicted will likely already be in your web, turning any trigger of your power into a death sentence. And as agitation grows our tear radius while carrying, more survivors will be afflicted by Starstruck and vulnerable. Also, exposed survivors will be hesitant to run into the basement for an unhook until the effect wears off, further increasing the time crunch that the survivors are under. Now, we won't always be able to force the basement, so having Starstruck can sometimes be enough to turn the game around by letting us snowball off of survivors caught unaware. For these games, we'll also be using the Bloodied Blueprint to try and force the basement to spawn under the shack, and always reveal to us where the basement spawns at the beginning of the map. This offering isn't strictly speaking necessary, but it does make things a little bit simpler. Build a web and play the spider. That's our plan. And if you like this build and want to see more like it in the future, it's a big help to the channel to remember to hit that subscribe button below. But enough of all this talking. Let's get to the games. Okay, Greenville Square. This is a really killer-sided map, so I'm kind of happy to be here. The trick is you kind of just ignore this main building right here. You just focus on the grass areas outside. And shack's right over there to my right. So I'm going to start setting up some traps along the perimeter here, with the goal of bringing survivors deep into the basement. I've played Hag enough to know where to set up traps. You want to set up around the outside of the shack. Can ignore that. And the areas that the survivors are going to be moving towards. So this kind of cuts off the window, cuts off the back. I'm going to put another around this side right here, since survivors will often think they're being clever by sneaking around the back. There's a survivor here. Put down a trap. And I'll chase them a little bit. I'll see where they're going. If I can, I'll force them into the web that I've already set up a little bit. No, they're not going over here. Here they are. Just in case they double back. Unlike most killers, I don't want to designate too much time to chasing one survivor. So if it looks like, yeah, this guy's going main building, yeah, I'm leaving him. I'm not too worried about constant pressure the same way you would be on other killers. Corrupt Intervention is a really good perk on this killer, but I'm just not a big fan of it in general. I also want to make sure I don't get too far away from my other traps, because I do have a limited teleport range. And here's Laura. I see two of them. Oh, and they're right by the shack too. This is perfect. I'll get a hit in. Hag's also very good for switching targets, as injured survivors are very vulnerable. And there's our first down, right inside the shack. I'm going to put this trap back down, because I know it's going to be useful later. Starstruck is up, but I don't think there's anybody here. No, they are saboing the hook outside. Oh, don't worry, we're not going to be using those hooks out there. Put them all the way here in the back. Let's put a trap down in the corner here when someone tries to run around the corner. And let's get this fun started. And she's still exposed from Starstruck, but she was also injured, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, now they have two in the basement. And this, as I can say, one of the biggest mistakes you can make as a survivor squad. If you get two survivors down in the basement this early as the killer, you are in excellent shape. And I thought to equip my put people in the basement challenge before this match too. I doubt I'm going to get all 12 hooks down here, but hey, try. Okay, so we've got the outside of the shack all trapped up. I'm going to trap up this area out here. My traps are still pretty good. But maybe one more down here. Hold on. There's the Fang, get a hit in. She's going to run straight to the basement. Oh, they're both down here. Okay. Let's interrupt that on hook. Knock him down as a trade. Fang's already injured. I'll knock her down too. Now these two are running out. One's definitely going to go for the window. Yeah, my bad. Let's teleport. And now they got a little too much distance here. I'm not going to chase them. They're going to have to come back to me after all. Where are you guys going? Put her on a hook. She's got boil over, which makes it hard to hook somebody generally, but it's not going to be a problem today. I'm going to put you up next to it. That's a nice flashlight you got there, but it's not going to do you too much good. She's injured. Don't really care about Starstruck at the moment. Put him up. Put a trap down. And head back up. I'm going to put one right here. This one, I like this one a little bit better by the palette. I'm going to re-put this one back here in the back. So now these survivors, they don't really have much of a choice. Now here they are. Either come try to get these on hooks, or they throw the game. This Meg is smart. She's just going to run me as far away from Shack as possible, and you can tell she's watching me. I'm not going to chase her out, because that would throw. Instead, I will wait for this inevitable unhook attempt. Oh, that is a good dead hard, but it's not going to save you. She's touching the body there, so she loses the borrowed time shield she gets from being freshly unhooked. Now I'm going to grab him when he tries to vault through the window. No, I'm going to run into a generator. I do hate when there's that generator in Shack here, but we do get the Shack pallet out of the way. Both of these touch survivors, so I know neither one of them has Decisive Strike or any sort of anti-tunnel perk. Up you go. You know, someone has a flashlight, but they'll never get an angle like this. Our traps are still active. You can kind of see them. Oh, they're both out here? This makes it too easy. Okay, at this point, I'm just going to end the game. It's basically over already. So I'm going to leave her slugged on the ground. She's got reassurance, but she probably should have just used outside of the Shack. She's not unhooking the second one, which is smart, and I will get the grab this time. And I don't know what you're doing, but you're making my job much easier. Put you up, and you. And finally you as well. All four in the basement. Boy, that was a hard game, huh? It was an easy map for us, but you know, it didn't even matter. These survivors practically threw themselves into the meat grinder. Oh boy, Ormond. This is probably the opposite of the last map. Ormond is a huge map with a million safe loops all over the place. So I'm not looking forward to doing this one. We do have Shack right here, right by our starting location. I don't know how likely we're going to be able to play Shack this time, but I can trap it up just in case. Get the loop out here too, that survivors might try to escape to. I will trap up the main building here a little bit, because I think I might be able to turn a main building down into a little basement situation. I'm just going to trap up some of these pallets here, some of the walkways. I see a survivor off to my right. Looks like they're running right behind the rock. Let's see if we can force them back. Okay, they're running slightly towards Shack. So with any luck, we can get the snowball started. That's a mistake on his part, letting me get a free hit there. We're not going to bother breaking that pallet. I'm going to put a trap down here in case he tries to run backwards. We're We're slowly zoning him towards Shack. Shoot, that threw me off. I think yeah, there he is. He doubled back. Which was pretty smart on his end. He knows that going towards Shack is going to be a losing endeavor. Yeah, he's going very deep in this area, and you can just see all these little loops here with the safe pallets at them. Okay, here's somebody over here by the generator. Being sneaky behind this rock. Maybe not sneaky enough. Gonna trap up this area a little bit. And we're just gonna leave her and teleport over here. Remember, when you're playing Hag, you don't need to commit to any one individual chase. Survivors are gonna be injured, they're gonna be vulnerable. So this is perfect. We're gonna carry him. I can't get quite to Shack. I can get to the Scourge hook right here. Give that pain resonance on whatever generator is being worked on. And I think I hear the generator off over here. Ooh, there's someone actually working on it. Starstruck value. Put a trap down here. And you, my friend, are definitely close enough to Shack. So on one hand, they were pretty smart by not leaving... Did she have power struggle? She had power struggle. I can't remember the last time I actually saw someone with power struggle. Power struggle is a perk that lets you, and I'll tell you in a second. And that's why we set that trap up earlier. Power struggle is a perk where if the killer carries you under a pallet, and you've been carried long enough, you can drop the pallet on the killer and free yourself. It's a good perk, I guess, but it's very situational and it's kind of hard to use. You can also see she's moving just far enough away from the pallet to try to get me twice. It's not going to happen. But that Shack pallet's gone out of the way now, so we can get the fun started. Now, as I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted. Although it seems like a mistake on the survivor's part to start doing those generators that were a little bit close to Shack in the basement, it was actually quite smart. Because this whole situation here would be a lot easier to do if there were only 3 or 4 generators left and they were all by Shack. So they were trying to do some of these generators early on and make it kind of impossible for this scenario to work. That or they just got unlucky and, picked it randomly. But I'm just going to pretend that they're like masterminds over here. Second gen pops, I don't care. I'm going to start trapping up this area here that survivors have to walk through. This generator has nobody nearby. Oh, there was somebody hiding back here. She is now injured, and I don't care about your flashlight. I'll then push her around the rock here. She can't vault, or she'll trigger a trap. She can't go and check, she'll trigger a trap. She figures she's probably trapped by there. But by this point, I've gotten just too much distance on her. I get to down her. Girl in the basement kind of sees the writing on the wall. Put you up. Now, while they are in a bad spot right here, if the other two made a sneaky play and managed to unhook, the game wouldn't be over. I mean, Ormond is a very strong map, especially against Hag. But I guess it's not on the cards for tonight. So now's the question, are they going to go for the unhook? And yes, they are. She's walking because she doesn't want to trigger a trap. I don't think she knows how it works exactly. Which is another little advantage to Hag because nobody plays her, so nobody knows her mechanics exactly. She's going towards that trap we placed earlier. And goes down to it. Put my trap back. And we can just end the game. Hate leaving Bills on the ground because Bills often have Unbreakable. One of Bill's perks lets him pick himself up, but whatever. My teleport's a little delayed there. But there we go. All that's left to do now is hook them all. Ah yes, the old disconnect and lose your points after the game's already over. How fun. And since I've gotten all my necessary basement hooks, I might as well use the finisher Mori on the last survivor and give the hag a nice, well-deserved little snack. Oh, that was a fun couple of games, wasn't it? Sometimes doing that basement strategy just scratches that itch, you know what I mean? The Hag certainly doesn't require a basement strategy to win, but it's too fun of a strategy and so iconically haggish that I wanted to make sure my channel's first Hag video covered it. Now, while our games went pretty smooth, not every basement-focused game will. So, during a match, don't be afraid to drop a basement strategy if the particular survivors you are facing are able to avoid it. That's why you have Pain Res and Starstruck, after all. If you enjoyed the games but would prefer to see a non-basement focused Hag, let me know in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching.